What you are seeing is not a regular dance competition, broken by the recession of 1929 and prepared to do anything to survive. More and more people took part in numerous dance marathons, a 1930s variant of Asian circus games. The rules of the trial was very simple but brutal. Couples must dance for as long as possible, sometimes for several days, and this is just in the hope of winning $500 reward awarded to the last team standing to delight the audience who came to forget their own misery during this depression and recession. The organization thought of everything: doctors, food, and beds. The losers at least got the chance to eat. Now that we know that the recession has not been kind to us, let us first understand what causes a recession. A recession is caused by a chain of events in the economy, such as disruptions to the supply chain, a financial crisis, or a world event. A recession can also be triggered after an inflationary period. So when inflation increases, central bank raises rates to slow down the economy with the goal of bringing down inflation. With higher interest rates, the probability of a recession increases, leading to layoffs, fewer jobs, and decreased consumer and corporate spending, among others effect found in a slowing economy. As companies and consumers become anxious about the economy, they hold on their money and cut spending. Businesses are forced to relocate resources, scale back production, limit losses, and lay off employees as the economic downturn intensifies. So the question to ask is it that India is staring at its maiden potential recession? Well, fortunately, the answer is no. It's not really the first time the recession this country has faced. In fact, it's the fifth time India will face recession. Before this, India faced four different recessions in four different tenures, with the first one in 1957. Till now, the country has faced four recessions starting from 1957, 1965, 1972, and 1997. Unlike current situation where the main reason for upcoming recession is a global pandemic, the previous recession were primarily due to two reasons: weak monsoon and energy crisis. During 1957, India encountered its first drop in economic growth. The reason was an increasing import bill, which swelled by more than 50% in between 1955 and 1957. The 1966 recession was caused by severe drought and wars with China and Pakistan. In 1965, due to drought, food grain production fell by 20%. Foreign food aid came to the rescue of the starving population of India, and India received 70 lakh tons of food aid in 1965, which is just equivalent to 10% of all the domestic production. The 1972 recession came on the back of an energy crisis as the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Country, which is also known as OPEC, proclaimed an oil and targeted nation supporting Israel during the ongoing Yom Kippur War. As a result, in a short while, oil prices shoot up by 400% from $3 to $12. Consequently, India's oil import bill rose from 414 million in 1972 to 900 million in 1973. This was twice the amount of foreign exchange reserve present at that time. The 1970-80s oil shock led to the balance of payment crisis, where the cost of India's import bill almost doubled between 1978 and 1982. During this time, India's export also took a hit as it contracted by 8%, which led to the balance of payment crisis. Now, things have changed. Time is different. India is now the fastest developing country. Is it safe to say that the India is recession-proof? While the world market is gripped with the fears of global recession, India's economy is believed to stay unharmed from any upcoming economic crisis. A recent survey by Bloomberg has made it clear that the percentage of recession in India is zero. It released a chart displaying the risk of recession in some Asian countries. It revealed that India will not slip into recession, while the risk is highest for Sri Lanka with 85% chance, which is in the midst of worst economic crisis. The economists believe that current trajectory of the economy is very strong. This is also reflected in very strong numbers of tax collections, car sales, airline traffic, and a whole range of indicators. But this is too much of optimism. There are a couple of issues that are bothering. For example, despite the government's best efforts, the recovery has been very uneven, and given that interest rates in India and globally are going up, export numbers are starting to weaken quite meaningfully low. This is economist Nouril Robini also known as Dr. Doom. She correctly predicted the 2008 housing bubble crash. She is the same person who recently said that she sees a long and ugly recession occurring in the US and globally at the end of 2022 and could last till the end of 2023. See, the thing is that India is not immune to the US or global recession. The domestic growth rate has slowed by 1.5 or 2.5% even in normal Fed-led recessions. Dr. Doom predicts that this recession is going to be a long and ugly one, unlikely any other shallow recession. America's share in India's merchandise export has increased to 18% in 2022 from 10% in 2011. The rise of the US market share in India's export basket has obviously increased India's exposure to recession in the US economy. In 2021, the US was the major destination for India's software exports, accounting for 55% share. Obviously, a US recession is bound to have a major adverse impact on India's software exports, margin and service sector jobs. Fed rate hikes have already started impacting the foreign portfolio investment fund flows, forex reserves and rupee. As India's forex exchange reserves declined for the ninth consecutive week, it dropped to the lowest since July 2022 to $533 billion. Further, the RBI's rate hikes will put pressure on India's growth. The RBI will have a tightrope walk to as it tries to reconcile two contradictory goals to restore a price stability without choking growth. All this makes India's currency, macroeconomic stability, current account deficit, and growth rate vulnerable. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is optimistic that despite the global headwinds, the Indian economy will stay on course. However, India's policy maker cannot remain complacent about the global headwinds. In a developing country like India, a modest growth rate of about 5% will push millions into poverty, even if it still makes it the fastest growing economy. A depreciating currency and widening twin deficits will further fuel an already elevated inflation, which will hit the poorest the hardest. Now that we know that the chances of recession is almost certain, I wanted to spend some time on telling you what does a recession do to you. Well, for first, you may lose your job. In fact, not only you are more likely to lose your current job, it becomes extremely difficult to find a job replacement since more people are out of work. People who keep their jobs may seek cut to pay and benefits and struggle to negotiate future pay prices. Investments in stocks, bonds, real estate, and other assets can lose money in a recession, reducing your savings and upsetting your plans for retirement. This will start a dominoes effect where due to job loss or pay cut, can't pay your bills, EMI, rent, and you may face the prospect of losing your home and other property. Businesses and owners make fewer sales during a recession and may even force into bankruptcy. During such time, the government tries to support businesses like with the emergency credit line, guarantee scheme, etc. But it's hard to keep everyone afloat during a severe downturn. Even if you plan ahead to prepare for a recession, it can be a frightening experience. If there's any silver lining, it's that recession do not last forever. Even the Great Depression eventually ended, and when it did, it was followed by arguably the strongest period of economic growth in Indian history.